Tammy Edwards. The Candy Lady is here. How are you?
I am doing well, Yulika. Thank you for inviting
I
me.
am so
It's great to see
humbled
you.
to have you here. So, first of all, I want you to tell the listeners about your business and what you do. And we're going to get into how I know you and how we reconnected and all that.
Okay, all right. My name is Tammy Edwards, and I am the Candy Lady. I create sweets buffets, gift baskets, gift boxes, and gift bags for all occasions. I create them and design them customized for whatever event you're having or whatever kind of gift that you would like to give someone, and even corporate events as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, tell us first of all, let's talk about how we know each other. So first of all, we attended the same church. It's the church I grew up in. But you were my
Yes.
youngest daughter, Candace's kindergarten teacher, who's now, I believe,
Oh,
24
yes.
years old. I should know that number. I
Yes,
don't know
I'm
it.
so proud of her. She
Yeah.
makes my she makes me feel good. She just brightens my life when I see my students that I have taught when they have grown up and they
Mm,
have become successful. It makes my heart skip a beat. It makes me feel so proud of them,
mm,
and not pride as in I did it, but just pride is in what they have become,
mm.
and how far they have gone with school and education, and they're successful and they just grew up to be wonderful assets to the community.
So as a teacher, so that is your profession. I wonder, has the tables turned? Are you now a student of business? Are you learning as you started this
Oh,
entrepreneurial
yes.
journey?
Yes, I am absolutely a student because I came in this thing green. I just like to create things. I love to create beautiful things. And I started this business as a hobby, and people kept asking me to do it, and I was doing it for free. And my husband said I was doing enough free things and I needed to roll it into a business. But I have no business sense. I had no business sense.
So what do you
I
mean
had
by
been an
no business
educator for
sense?
30 years. I didn't know about invoices, contracts, how to market my business. I didn't know how to keep track of the money that I was making. I didn't know that I was supposed to separate my personal money from my business money. I didn't know how to even go to the courthouse to get a business license. I
Mm.
was green. I was I was just like a kindergartner in business because I
Wow.
didn't know anything about business. I only knew about sweets buffets, creating beautiful things. I could do that all day long. But the business side of it, I was very green. And I knew that I needed to learn, but I really didn't know at first who to learn from.
Mm.
And I've had some people to help me along the way. You have helped me tremendously.
Well,
I've
thank you.
had people that I've asked to help me, that kind of thought I think that I was a competition for them, so they didn't want to give me any
Oh, you better
information.
talk about
But
that.
I also had people that stepped right in and said, okay, you need to do this and you need to do that. You need to get your contract. Don't wait to get your money at the event. You need to get at least 50% of your money coming in before you do anything for your client. And then I didn't even know how to get clients. I mean, word of mouth, of course, people in my community, but I wanted to broaden my client reach. So I had to learn how to market myself.
So I like to talk more about, and we're getting some feedback. I don't know where that's coming from. I think we're okay. I want to talk more about really being a student of business and being teachable. I think that's something that's, even in the Small Business Academy, it's challenging when people are struggling, but they know everything. So maybe you can relate to that in students. Sometimes you have to break through the mindset before you even get
Mhm.
to the business part of it. So when you send you reaching out to other people for help, so you realize that you could not do this alone.
Right. Yes.
So tell
I
me,
reached
how long ago was this? So how long
I
when you made the
started
switch to
doing
business?
I started doing Sweets Buffets in I think 2013. I kind of rolled it into a business around 2018.
Okay.
And the first thing I did was I got a business license. I remember going to get the license, and the lady asked me how much did I how much did I spend? How much did I save? How much things cost? And I couldn't tell her anything.
Mm.
Um, she said, "You're going to have to start keeping receipts and doing itemized lists of things." And so, and it's funny because I come from a family of accountants,
Uh-oh.
but it skipped me. And so I reached out to my family members and my dad um, specifically, and he gave me some insight on some things that I needed to do. But my dad dealt with real estate,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed somebody who kind of dealt with business the way I dealt with business. I needed someone who was in events and catering, who had to go and purchase things
Mm-hmm.
and keep receipts, and someone who did events. And I needed to know pricing. I didn't even know how to price my sweets buffets at first. I had to go on the internet and
Mm.
Google other people who were doing the same thing to see what their price range was. And then I sought out people who knew how to do um, business, like you. I entered into your
So do
academy
you think it was a
because
humbling experience
it
learning?
was, but you have to realize that you don't know anything. And in order to be a teacher, you have to be teachable.
Mm.
In order to be able to lead, you have to be able to follow and acknowledge when you don't know something.
Mm.
So I sought out people who knew something, and I sat and I listened. I didn't talk over them. I didn't try to interject my own thoughts and ideas because they had been doing it a lot longer than I had been doing it.
Mm.
I took what I needed to take that would benefit me for my specific business. Just like with any student, you don't do everything your teacher tells you to do throughout your life. You have to embrace what benefits you. So I embraced what I needed, and I haven't gotten there. I'm still in a training, teaching mode. I'm learning stuff every day about how to conduct my business.
So so now that you've joined the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy, so the name of this episode is "The Candy Lady Needs an Accounting System."
Yes, and I am now doing how to unbootleg your business because my business I had as I read, and I still have not completed my lessons, but as I read, I found out just how bootleg my business was when it came to having everything set up like in a book. I didn't write any. I mean, I wrote things down like what is the color that will be used? What kind of crystal am I going to use? What kind of candies? I wrote nothing down that had to do anything with business and money. People, I would ask for people to pay me a certain amount, and then when I would get to the event, they would say, "Well, we don't have this, but we can give you this." And so my husband said, "When you go to Walmart, when you get to the cash register, you cannot tell the cashier that you don't have $300 for your purchases. They're going to tell you either you put something back or you go get some more money." And so that I had to change my whole mindset of
Mm.
how to do business. So I had to first write things down. I had to keep a ledger. I had to keep a log. I have to keep my receipts together. And I put all of them together for a specific month because I didn't even know that every piece of candy, every piece of glass and crystal, even my internet was a part of my business because I got on my internet with clients. I didn't even know when I got an office that I could deduct that from my taxes. So I had to be really trained. And I'm still being trained. I'm learning things every day on how to unbootleg my business. When the pandemic hit, I couldn't do sweets buffets anymore. So I had to change my mindset.
Mm,
And so I had to
mm.
start doing more gifts. And then I had to think about shipping costs because I was shipping baskets and boxes all over the nation. I shipped to California, I shipped to Florida, I shipped to Delaware, Colorado. And I had to get that mindset of, okay, I'm shipping, that costs more money. What do I need to add on to my price in order to make the 50% that a business owner is supposed to make?
Correct.
So I had to do all of that. And I was never a math person, which is why I did not go into accounting like my family members. So I had to really reach out. I had to reach out to you. I had to reach out to my dad. I had to just grasp on. And then I have a cousin who's into marketing. She has a master's degree in marketing. I had to reach out to her. I didn't even know how to market my business. I thought if I just handed out gift cards, or not gift cards, but business cards at church, that would be it. That's how naive I was. I was very green. So I needed a lot of help. And I needed someone to come in and not coddle me either because I need to know the truth. I don't need for you to tell me, okay, you're doing all right in your business. You don't need my help. No, I need someone to tell me the truth. You're doing this wrong. You need to do it this way because you want someone who is going to benefit you and make your help to make your business grow and give you that wisdom and understanding that you long to have.
So, being that this is the this is so Tammy, just for the listeners and viewers to know. So it's audio on podcast and it's video on YouTube. So it's going to be a part B of the Candy Lady needs an accounting system because she just enrolled in our new course, the Accounting Basics for Entrepreneurs, and she's going to set up the accounting system. We may do it together, and if it's okay, Tammy, I would like to kind of well, we won't tell all your business, but we want people to learn from the experience. We want people to say, okay, understand how the account should be set up or that kind of thing. And then also talk about what you learn, what you see when you look at your financial statements. Are you willing to do that with us?
Sure, I can do that. I can do that.
Just so some of the lessons that you learn, some of them you're
Yeah.
gonna learn quicker when you're looking at the financial statement. You get
Right,
when you
right.
get through. So she has she registered for the course, but she hasn't started it yet, and that's why we wanted to have this podcast now because this is the before. But I'm impressed that you've done a lot of learning even before then
Mhm.
to realize that you need some of those things
Yes.
because that is the first step. Because some people just think they're gonna boot. It's very different than having a job. Wouldn't you agree? Because
Oh, absolutely.
at work we cut the
Absolutely.
lights on, flush the toilet, steal pencils, and we don't even think about it.
Yes, and like I said, I was totally education. So with being in education, like you said, you get your check every 2 weeks. You know what your check is going to be. You know immediately what it's going to be. When you sign your contract each year, you know what your check is going to be, and you just deposit that check. And you don't have to hustle. You
No.
know what your money's going to be. But in business, you got to hustle. You got to sell yourself. You have to market yourself. And you have to determine how much. I had to determine also how much money I wanted to make a month.
Mm.
What is my goal for this month? How am I going to get to my expected end? What do I need to do to make this amount of money at the end of the month? So it was a lot of things that I had to think about and I had to write down and I had to have a lot of talks with different people who were in the same industry with me to talk about some ways we could work together to enhance each other's business.
I love it. So one thing I want to you to talk to the women out there who have work careers, who have raised their children, and they might have a hobby like you that they're seeking to turn into a business, and maybe they're afraid and they don't know where to begin, what would you advise them to do?
Well, I would advise them to follow their passion, first of all. This was a passion of mine that I began to do as a hobby because I wanted something that didn't have anything to do with education. And once you find out what your passion is, get with like minded people
Mm.
who are not afraid of, um, I don't want to say envious, but who don't want to step on you, but want to grow up with you. You can help them and they can be of help to you, and you can grow in together.
I think that the company you keep is a really big deal. The people around you
Yes,
who everybody's
absolutely.
not cheering for you, and sometimes it's hurtful because sometimes it's people who you realize were very
No, they're
close,
not.
and some people who've been so as long as you were with
Hmm.
them on the same level, it was okay, or even lower than them a little bit in some ways, in their opinion. But
Hmm.
when you start to build and grow and step out, people make comments just to make you feel self-conscious. Am I doing the right thing?
Hmm.
Even in the church house. I ain't want to say that. Even
Hmm.
in the church house,
Yes,
it's sometimes and you have to fight
yes,
against that.
yes,
And so I really appreciate you
yes.
being here with us. So tell us, you really shared a lot of wisdom with me. I really feel encouraged even in what I'm doing. Because this new podcast, I'm stepping out. And even people DM me comments, people I know that make me want to freeze. So I thank you for that. So tell us how we can find you. We're going to have your information in the show notes, but tell us how we can find you.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook, The Candy Lady. You can find me on Instagram, Tammy Pulliam, which is my maiden name, The Candy Lady. You can find me on at my website, tammythecandylady.com. You can find me at Richmond Weddings, the Wedding Wire, and the Knot.
Oh, we need to hear
I'm
all of
located on
tell
all
us
those
tell me how you
platforms.
got hooked up with the in the what the setup is at the Richmond weddings and at the hotel. Tell me they need to hear that.
Well, I went to a show. I went to a Richmond Weddings show because I had to find out what my target audience was. And so I was doing some weddings. I had done some weddings. And so I wanted to get into a broader market. So I went to a show and I walked around and I noticed that no one was doing what I was doing. There were a lot of caterers, there were a lot of venues, there were a lot of people who had sweets as cakes. They were, cake bakers, bakeries. But there was no one who was doing any favors like mine. So I called the owner one day and I said that I was interested. But before I called the owner, I saw a young man in the magazine who was in Petersburg. And I went to that young man and I talked to him and I showed him what I did. And I asked him, do you think I have a chance? Do you think this is something that they may be interested in? And he said, yes, I love this. And I asked that young man who was almost, I would say, 15 to 20 years younger than me. I said, would you mentor me? Because I don't know anything about business. Would you mentor me? And he said, yes, and I was grateful. And he helped me tremendously with contracts and how to set up and budget my business. And so I went to Richmond Weddings and I called, and the owner, he came to my school, and I'd set up a mini sweets buffet in my classroom. And of course, the children were looking at it all day, and I said, look, I'm going to tell you something. Just don't touch it. If you don't touch it, I will give you something the next day. And so they looked at it all day, but they were obedient. They didn't touch it. And he came in and he said, well, I don't see you on social media. I don't see you. I can't find you on a website. And so I had these things, but it wasn't very visible. And so once he saw what I had, some of my marketing, and what I offered, he first sat down and talked to me about pricing, what my prices should be, and how I should grow. And then we talked about the contract, and I signed it, and I became a member. Well, in becoming a member, of course, that put me at the shows, that gave me access to the shows, that put me in the magazine. It gave me a broader clientele. It did all of that. And then they gave me more marketing strategies and ways that I could enhance my business and all of that. And that also gave me a network of people. Now I'm connected to vendors who may need my services because they have brides and grooms coming to them asking for sweets buffets or favors or gifts to give to the brides and the bride's mother and the groomsmen. So then I started creating even more things because I needed to reach this broader clientele. But it also made me step up because I needed to make my stuff look a little bit more polished and professional because you need to grow. If you do the same thing all the time,
Hmm.
you're going to get the same results all the time. And so I wanted different results, so I had to step up. And so I was very observant. And from that point, I knew it. Once I began to grow like that and people started to really ask for my services, I realized you don't have too much business sense going on. You need to get someone who knows business to help you because if you don't do that, then you're still going to fail because you're not going to know what to do with your money. You're not even going to know how much money you make, and since you have a license, you're going to have to pay taxes.
Hmm.
And you're going to have to be able to tell them how much money you've spent, how much money you've made. And so I really had to step back and get someone to teach me how to do that.
Tammy, I'm blown away. I'm so excited to. I feel like you are a case study for the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy, and I promise we won't get into all your business, but I want people to see the before and after and what you're able to do. Also, when you come back, I want to talk about some of the tools that you use and things that you have learned how to use and for your social media and other things. And also, I want to talk to you. So, talk to me. So, you talked about complementary vendors. So vendors who are not competition, but they complement what you do, and
Hmm.
how important partnership is. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, but also talk about the coaching and really how you invested in growing your knowledge.
Well, the first thing I did when I went into Richmond Weddings is I made contact with event planners because event planners know everything about planning a wedding from the beginning to the end. And they also know who they like and they know who they don't like. They know who to suggest and they know who they don't want to deal with. First of all, I'm going to use this term lightly. They don't want to deal with people who are messy. And when I mean messy, you quote one price, but you don't deliver on the goods that you have, that you say you're going to do something, but when you get to the event, what you actually show up with is not what you had at that wedding show that you promised you were going to deliver. That's one thing. Being late, um, not being cordial. You want to get business, you have to be cordial to your clientele. Another group that I dealt with were the venues, the different venues. Um, when people who own venues know about your services, not only will they give your name or your information to brides and grooms, because that's not the only thing that I do, but they'll give it to anyone who comes in. And sometimes you may be the person that is always called. We have one person who does sweets buffets, and that's Tammy Edwards. We don't get anyone else in here to come and do those. So you build those relationships, and it's not a war, and it's not a struggle, and it's not someone to be jealous of. It's someone who you can network with, connect with, and you both grow. Because if I'm working at a particular site, that person is also going to ask me, someone is also going to ask me, well, you did an event at the Dominion Club. Tell me about the Dominion Club because I'm thinking about renting it for my wedding. And so you build that relationship, and then you can say, "Oh, I loved working there because the clientele, the staff rather, was wonderful to work with. It was a beautiful event. They really work hard. The food is really great." So you build those relationships with people when you network with people like that.
So relationships are so important in business, but also heard you talk about your reputation and your consistency is also important. And I feel like some, and you could tell me if you agree, some people don't like to work their full time job, but sometimes it's because they messy on the job and they bring it
Yes.
into the business.
Yes, they do. And I've dealt with people who were messy in my business as well as in my regular job. I've dealt with people who I never want to work with again because they're messy. But for the most part, I've dealt with the most professional people, and even watching them, has helped me to grow in my business. A lot of them I just watch. I watch event planners because they're very precise and detailed. And with what I do, I like to be detailed. When I go into a venue, it's like going to somebody's home. That's their home. So
Mm.
you're humble and you're a guest in their home. So if you go in with a good attitude and you're humble and you um, kind of have everything you need, so you don't have to ask for a lot of stuff and worry them, kind of, they'll be more apt to come and talk to you, and you can give them your information, and they will be most generous in giving your information to someone else.
So in the show notes, what we're gonna do is one, we're gonna put your contact information, but I also want to capture some of the tips that you gave about professionalism, networking that I think that can apply to any business. Because some people think because you put your shutter out that people are obligated to support you, but no, you need to be a person that's a people person that
Mhm.
works well with others. So one thing I like to stress to my clients is that your customer is your boss. You might have left one boss at a job, but you got more bosses. Every
Mhm.
client is a boss, and you have to
Exactly.
satisfy them. They're the people with your
That's
paycheck.
right. That's right. Because if you don't, they'll get someone else. It's
Exactly.
very easy to be replaced.
And the
I had
reputation will
one.
spread. The reputation.
Exactly, because they'll talk about you. And now, because we have social media, it's very easy to get a bad reputation in this
Mm,
business. And when you go on different sites and you ask for people to give you reviews, those reviews could be good or bad,
mm.
depending on what they feel their service was.
I appreciate it. So we have all of your contact information. We're going to put our heads together and put some notes down so we can put in the show notes so people can take that away and apply it right away to improve their bootleg business. We are here to unbootleg businesses. But I
Yes.
want to thank you again for coming and sharing with the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy. You will be back as our case study. The candy. Stay tuned for the Candy Lady Needs an Accounting System Part 2 coming in the months to come. That was a
Yes.
promo. But thank you very, very much. I appreciate
Thank you
you
for
and
inviting me.
please come again.